Can you keep your kids learning all summer long without using workbooks? I'm going to tell you how. Hey friends, I'm Jess from the blog SiloAndSage.com, and here we talk about all things homeschool, homestead, and handmade. And today we are going to talk about summer learning because it is almost that time. It is beautiful here in Wisconsin, and we are starting to get that itch of summer. Like, it's almost there, but that was a chicken. I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a tease, but I'm hoping that it's not. But there is this common misconception that in order to keep your kids on track with learning during the summer, that you need to enroll them in summer school, give them lots of extra work, get workbooks, and constantly have them doing things. But that really is not true. Now, I am a former elementary teacher and I am a homeschool mom of 5 for over a decade now. And we have not done any extra summer learning aside from the things that we regularly do. Now, sometimes we do continue some of the things into the summer because we're homeschoolers. We can work at our own pace. We are always doing things that are learning, and there may be some curriculum that we choose to continue through the summer just because we don't want to stop it, and that's okay. We can choose to do that. But you don't have to be doing these things. You don't have to give your kids extra work during the summer just to keep them on track. Now, whether you are homeschooling or not, there is this belief that we need to rush our kids to catch up during the summer. But especially if you're a homeschooler, you don't have to fall into that trap. You can have a slow, playful summer and your child will still be learning things. In fact, they'll be learning maybe even more than they would if they were doing summer school, doing workbooks, or doing all of these things we think they need to do to catch up. The truth is that kids are just much more likely to remember things that they learn through play or through genuine experiences versus a curriculum or a workbook. That fun summer your child is having is actually a good thing. All the unstructured playtime is really good for their brain and their development and their bodies. And yeah, they're actually learning that whole time. So what are some things that you can do to keep your kids on track, right? You don't want them to fall behind. No parent wants that. No parent wants their child to be progressively gaining and learning and making progress through the school year, and then they fall behind during the summer or they kind of lose it all. Now, I would maybe argue that that isn't really what happens, that kids just learn different things during the summer and they aren't necessarily falling behind. But just for the sake of argument, let's say that you are worried that your child is going to lose the things that they learned during the school year. Now, as a homeschooling parent, you have the ability to just keep going. You don't have to actually stop your curriculum. You could keep going. You could go at a slower pace. You could just do a couple things a week. You get to decide. You get to see what works for you and your family. So here are some things that I don't recommend doing in your summer. Don't do lots of workbooks. Now, if you are continuing a curriculum, I think that's totally fine. If you're continuing your math curriculum, we do that sometimes. Don't go out and buy a specific summer learning workbook. There are so many of those out there, and honestly, I think they're just a gimmick. I do not recommend them at all. I do not think they are very valuable. I don't think they're helpful. So I do not recommend doing workbooks. I don't recommend doing flashcards. I don't recommend making your kids write book reports. I don't recommend nonstop summer school. Now, there could be summer school classes or activities or camps that are valuable for your child. So don't think that I'm hating on all summer school, but I don't think it's necessary for your child to be doing summer school all summer long. We want them to be having fun and playing because that's actually a really important part of their development. Did I get a little powerful there? Sorry, I got a little intense because I really do think that kids need to play. They need to play all year long, but especially in the summer. If they have not had a lot of breaks in their school year, especially if you're not homeschooling, They need to have some time to play and to just be kids and to have that unstructured time. This is actually really, really important for them. So what are some ways that your child can be learning intentionally in the summer? So obviously, if your child is interested in anything, get books about it. Get kits if they're interested in things like building and crafting and sewing, all those sorts of things. You can get those kits. Like we get Kiwi Crate kits in the mail. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I just have been a subscriber to Kiwi Crate for quite a long time. We have changed up. We've gotten the Tinker Crates, we've gotten the Atlas Crates that learn about the world. They have crafts or activities or books. Those are great ways to be learning in a more natural, organic way and keeping it fun while giving it maybe a little bit of structure. And a lot of times kids don't even really realize that they're learning when they're doing these things. Baking and cooking. These are great ways to get kids learning. It's engaging a different part of their brain. It's using math in a real life way. They have to follow instructions. Let them invent their own recipe and experiment and see what works. They will be, especially with baking, they're learning the science of how things work together. Learning to sew or knit or embroider, learning to build something, all of these skills that they may not have time for during the school year or maybe aren't prioritized. You can have a lot of time to do things in the summer and your kids will be learning so many different things. If your family is taking a road trip, have this be an opportunity for your child to plan out the route that you're going to go or help to plan it out for you, to learn map skills. Like, don't just rely on your GPS. Have your kids actually look at a physical map and learn the way to go and find some fun places along the way that you could stop, that maybe you could, they may be like learning stops or they may be just fun, exploring type stops, but they could be calculating mileage or they could just be having fun. It's okay not to turn every single experience that you have in the summer into a learning opportunity where you're making your kids like, hey, calculate the the miles from this place to this place. Maybe once in a while, but don't have that be your child's entire summer, everything that you're doing. Pick and choose a little bit so that not everything has to be a learning opportunity. But if you're not taking a big road trip, maybe you want to take a field trip to places around your city or places around your state that you don't normally go to, or that maybe aren't open in the school year, or that you just don't have a lot of time for, especially if you're not a homeschooling family like we are. Have your kids plan the field trips too. Maybe you are going to be going to more educational places like a science center or a museum or the zoo or a nature center, but maybe you're just going to go on a hike or you're going to go to the beach. But have your child pick some of the places that you want to go and have them plan the day. Have them pack the lunch and see what they need to bring along for the day. Have them make a list of everything that you need to take to the beach so that nothing is forgotten and they are practicing their writing skills at the same time and they don't even realize. Host a rummage sale or lemonade stand or something fun where your child gets to learn about money and they get to maybe be in charge of the cash, or maybe they get to earn the money themselves. Maybe they make the lemonade, make the muffins that they're going to sell at their little stand on the corner, and they get to keep all of the profits. Build or fix something together. If you have something that has been on your to-do list and summer is the time, like we have been talking about building a greenhouse and building a chicken run onto our chicken coop, and those are things that we're going to ask our kids to get involved in, and there is so much that they're going to learn in the process of building something. I would actually learn a lot because I really don't know a lot about building things. So we're going to learn those things together. Now, when it comes to reading, it is really tempting if your child is not at the level that you think they should be at, which there will be a video coming about reading, so stay tuned to that if you are interested in helping your kids with reading. But it's tempting to give them specific books to read, like you want them to be at a certain level, so you give them specific books, or you're like, oh, they haven't been reading this type of book, so I want them to read it. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but reading needs to be fun too. So make sure that your kids are reading things that they want to read, not just topics that they want to read about, but the type of books that they are interested. Maybe they have been reading a lot of historical fiction this year and they just want to read a realistic fiction or a fantasy book. Give them some different types of books that they are interested, or go to the library. And a lot of libraries this time of year will have like contests, like reading contests. That could be great motivation for your child who really hasn't been very interested in reading. I know a lot of our local libraries do contests where they have prizes for the amount of books that you read in a certain amount of time. Like every month, if you, I don't know, they have like sheets that you color or something, and then they have prizes. That could be a great motivator. Now, if you're as old as I am, and maybe you're not, and I'm totally gonna age myself with this one, but if you were born in the 80s, the early 80s, you probably remember Book It, where you got to earn Pizza Hut pizza for reading books, and that was a big deal. Now, these library contests are kind of similar to that, so maybe for a little nostalgia, just get your kids pizza for reading books. It doesn't have to be the library that's the motivator. If your library doesn't do something like that, do something yourself. Now, if your kids are not strong, proficient readers yet, or if they're just not really interested and they don't really like reading a lot on their own, try some audiobooks. Audiobooks are a great way to get your kids reading by just listening to the books. And so they're enjoying a lot of the benefits of reading without doing the reading themselves. Now, obviously, it's not the same skill, right? We do want them to eventually learn how to read, but in the meantime, they can be listening to books. Now, even as an adult, and I know how to read very well, but I love listening to audiobooks. I personally like to use Audible for my audiobooks. There are lots of different audiobook apps, but I like that one the best. I have a subscription and I get books every month. You can actually get a lot of free books. You can search around and find free books, or you can find books that are on sale. You can also get, if you've never tried Audible before, you can get a free trial of Audible and they will give you a credit for a free book. And I will leave a link to that in the description. I think that's a great way to get started because it literally costs you nothing and you get a free book. I totally did that when I started with Audible, and then I use it so often and I find so many free books. And if you find free books, you don't need a subscription to Audible. You can use the Audible app without having a subscription. And if you find a book that's on sale, or if you find one that is free, you can still use it in the Audible app. Board games and card games are great ways for kids to learn during the summer. Well, any time of year, really. But they're great for the summer because you can pull them out on a rainy day, pull them out when your kids are like, I'm bored, and they don't really even know that they're learning. I mean, my kids have learned money primarily through games like Monopoly. They learned how to make change and to exchange money, and they learned about bills. That is a great way to learn a lot of skills like taking turns, good sportsmanship. We've definitely had some experience with that one here. Even simple games for younger kids learns things like counting and skip counting. There are just so many skills you learn when you're playing a game. And I actually have some printable math games in my shop that I will leave a link for in the description also. But these are games that you can use with really just ordinary things that you have in your house, like a deck of cards and dice and lots of like just random materials that you have in your house. So some of the games are printable and some you won't need to print much, if anything at all. You'll just have the instructions on the PDF. But games are a great way for your kids to be learning and having fun at the same time. Going hiking and camping are actually awesome opportunities for your kids to learn. Not only are they learning things like maybe they're learning some survival skills or how to cook over a fire or what to do if you don't have electricity. You could camp out in your backyard and do these things, of course, but it's a little bit more fun when you get to go somewhere like a state park or a campground or wherever it is that you might go. Now, of course, you can do all these things if you're in an RV. Tent camping is just a very different experience, and it gives your kids just a different way of doing life, right? It gives them just a new experience. experience that maybe they haven't had before. Camping and hiking are great opportunities to learn things like map reading skills, using a compass, what to do if you get lost, a lot of nature things that you're gonna learn, like learning about different wildlife, all sorts of things, right? But you can also have your kids get involved in planning your camping trip, making lists of things to take with you, checking the gear. They can plan your route. They can look at maps and look at a map of the campsite and see the things that you're gonna see there. Look at the hiking trails, find the different symbols on the hiking trails. Gosh, there are just so many things that they could be learning just from one trip. And maybe the trip is just a weekend trip and they're still gonna be learning so much, but they're having fun. So these are just life skills, right? These are just real life opportunities of things your kids are doing, and they're just learning along the way. And you don't have to throw away all the workbooks. And like I said, if you're continuing your math curriculum, do it. If you are the sort of person who likes to homeschool year round, that's great. But don't think that your child has to be doing them during the summer so that they don't fall behind or so that they can catch up with their peers, because so much of what they are doing in the summer is actually really valuable to their development and to their learning. And remember, play is actually the way kids learn. This is really, really important. And my voice went up a little higher because I get so excited about it. So don't discount the real life experiences that your kids are doing this summer and the play, the unstructured play, those slow, lazy, playful summers. These are actually a good thing. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. And in the meantime, keep cultivating your home. Bye. Come on, come on. Go, 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 go. Go, go. I don't have any food. Go, go, go. Go on, go on.